Facebook Live, Courageous
Hello.
Minds are live. Welcome back to our live podcast. I think the only one on its kind. Most other podcasts are recorded and then published. We are actually taking the brave pill and are recording this courageous podcast, Courageous Minds, live for you. Um, Actually, live streaming and then recording it and putting it on YouTube if you want to find us also there. And I just want to give you a brief introduction if it's the first time that you are with us. If I find my notes. And so this is our weekly dose of for you and for us of truth. Nama, Pierre, and Tatyana, myself, will dive into courage, our minds, what it really means to build a business rooted in feminine energy. We are gonna have raw conversations, unfiltered perspectives, and breaking stigma and illusions. We are two women with different missions, but both of us are driven by courage. And you are here for a dose of learning something new from the heart, expanding your limits, and stepping into the kind of freedom where growth is inevitable and the sky is never the limit. Welcome back!
Hello.
And actually, um, just for you guys to know, we normally go live every Wednesday, but yesterday I was traveling, so that's why we had to postpone our podcast with one day. But if you are listening to us live, we are live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. European time and 10 a.m. What is it? Pacific. What is it called?
Yeah. S- Um, yeah, it's Peru time is
Nama is in
equal
Peru.
to I'm in Peru, and it's equal to um what it's called Central something time.
Yeah, we forgot, but we will write it. Maybe
Yeah.
it's we will write it. We're not gonna lose time on this. But so today, so last week we were speaking about what was the topic last week exactly? How did we name it?
How do we choose our right people, our right circle, the people that are closest to us?
Yeah,
Um,
and in that conversation, what came like as a like naturally as the next topic was about um, that the people that are around us, like the one thing that will make us close and like feel the connection will be vulnerability. So we thought today the um, we are calling this podcast episode the power of vulnerability, and we might also find a kind of closer and more appropriate title as we record this episode, because the beauty of a live episode is that we don't know exactly which direction this conversation will go, but for now it's the power of vulnerability. And yeah, we want to dive into the topic, share our minds for the next 40 minutes, let's say, in what it means for us, how powerful vulnerability is, when to be vulnerable, when not to be vulnerable, maybe, and all the beauty of being open. Nama, do you want to start, like, just maybe sharing? Also, like, I think maybe we can dive straight into like your latest post that went viral, and like that was a quite vulnerable experience for you, which we were
yes,
discussing
it
behind the
was.
scenes. So maybe you want to give us like tell people first what the post was, what happened, and
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, so I shared a post both on Instagram and Facebook, um, speaking about mm, a moment in my life where my husband asked for a quiet moment, and we still could be together in that moment. And the whole post speak about how we let our partners be. So we give them the freedom to be themselves, to get what they need. And this, at the same time, we also get the same, right? We also need sometimes a moment quiet, uh, like something different. We are two different people that are coming together, and we can exist as separate entities, separate individuals, and then be united by the things that we care about, the things that what we love. And so I when I shared it, it didn't feel that vulnerable to share it, actually. It felt like, okay, this is a moment that happened to me. And and this is what I learned in my 10 years of marriage. Like part of what I've learned, because there is so much to it. Like this is one moment out of 10 years. So the moment that it became vulnerable, that it felt vulnerable, is the moment that the judgment came in.
Mm.
And and it felt vulnerable because I shared a personal moment, and then it feels like the judgment is about me and my relationship and like my personal life, because it was a personal moment that was shared.
Mhm.
While while mentally it's clear for me that the judgment is about the person who judge, because it comes from their experience and what this little post triggered in them. But still, like the first reaction that I get is like they're judging me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting because you made a teaching, you were teaching people something, but in order to make the teaching relatable, you shared a story from your own life. And
Mhm.
when you shared the story, instead of people taking the teaching, they focused on the story and making conclusions about the type of relationship that you have.
Yes. Yes. And so also in the teaching itself, in each piece of it, I gave a little moment. So, for
Yeah.
example, one moment that really triggered people is this: if they want to scroll on their phone for a moment, let them do that. Like, and this little sentence, like they can scroll for a moment and you can do something else and you can live in the same room without engaging the whole time. So
Triggered people a lot.
this really triggered me, people, because like how dare them be on their phone? Like
Can you believe it? They have to be 24 hours engaged with you.
yes. Yes.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I also gave little examples on each little teaching. So yeah.
So it's really interesting because vulnerability could be like I'm sharing something very personal, but as we turn, as it turns out, as we find out, is that yeah, anything, because one thing is what we consider very intimate and personal, and maybe we'll share it only with our close people. But then it turns out that any private information about a person could be obviously interpreted in different ways. Therefore, any information about a person is vulnerable in a way, right? Like it's exposure to
Yeah.
interpretation.
Yeah. Yes, I think the moment you are exposed, you're vulnerable.
Yeah. Which immediately made me think like we both are in a business where we are quite public with our lives and with our gifts, and and it might look for someone that it's easy and like, oh, they're just making posts on Instagram. But actually it turns out that every time, and yeah, maybe if the post doesn't go viral, you we get less written comments. But let's say even like an average post that gets 1,000 500 views, which is we like I consider a low view, like let's say low, or even 200 views. This is 200 people seeing something you wrote. It's a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's like each one is somebody seeing you or seeing themselves through you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as long as there is no interaction, it doesn't feel that vulnerable
Yeah.
because it's just a number. But the truth is that those are people on the other side.
Watching you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't really plan this conversation to go this way, but because we were talking about business beforehand, before the conversation, so it just makes to show how most people will never have an online business because of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's uncomfortable.
Hmm. Yes, it's uncomfortable, and I can also tell personally there is a fear of judgment. And and I'm not someone who, like, I don't consider myself as someone who is very afraid um of judgment, but it exists. It's part of who we are in a way. And so it's
So,
always like showing up, and the more you allow yourself to show up and open up and be present with what you're sharing, you're opening yourself to more judgment.
so is vulnerability for you scary just because of the judgment?
Mm, yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't think it's just because of the judgment. I think in general, vulnerability, like in its main meaning, it puts you in a weak place, like in a
Because,
dangerous place in some cases, right? Because when you're vulnerable, you open you are showing people where they can hurt you.
yeah, but so yes, they can hurt you, but people also can hurt us even without knowing things about us. It just hurts more, right? It hurts more when you're sharing something, but people can. So let me break down something that is coming to my mind. So
Yeah.
I think, and this is just an idea that comes to my mind right now, it's like we are we when we are vulnerable and we especially if the vulnerability happens publicly, because it's one thing to be vulnerable to one person and you like best worst case like they judge you, you don't speak to them anymore and you try to forget what happened, right? This is one thing, it's one on one, you just forget about this nasty person. On the other hand, when you're judged public, when you allow yourself to speak up publicly, you build up all this courage. The chances of you being judged are much higher because it's not just one person. And you can of course block the 200 haters. It's not about not um, not having choices when you are publicly online. That's also not true. But what came to my mind, and this is something also related to a conversation that I had earlier, is that when we are vulnerable, we are showing in a way part of our life that is not what is normalized. It's something that is kind of different. I think that's why vulnerability is so, and it feels to me and that in our society we have a lot of standardization what how a human should be, a good human, well behaved, one relationship, this relationship, how we should hold hands and talk all day and be in harmony and all these things. And it's when we share something that is a little bit different from the norm, from the image that how it's supposed to be, that's when we are opening up, we're showing something that's a little bit different but works actually better or not. Even we can share something that didn't work, and but we are deviating from the norm, right? Like we are showing something that is different. That's why, because if I'm showing like, oh, I have 10 years marriage, like what if you say I've been married and you're like sharing all the things that are from inside the norms, there is no story, there is nothing interesting, and there is no vulnerability there, right? But so what I'm saying, what I'm thinking is that it became this vulnerability as a standard, even as something that was not normal, and it feels like enormous effort to be vulnerable and open up. It's because, like, as a society, we've been sold by many industries like this image of how a human should be, a relationship should be, a business should be, and all the should be's and must be's and all the standardization of things. And everything that's outside of this standard, it feels vulnerable to open up and share it because most likely you will be judged because most people have believed in this idea that this is how things should be.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. And like what I'm thinking as you're speaking is what happens sometimes and also happened this time is that there are things that are really normal to you that are not normal to anybody else. So for
For
me,
example.
it's absolutely normal that I can do whatever I want while my husband does whatever he wants for a few hours of the day, and like we can meet afterwards and connect on a different in a different place or in a different moment. And and for me it's like, okay, this is normal. I just searched something that is absolutely normal for me. I normalized it already.
And I
And
think it's also normalized by society because people go to work at different places, right? Like in a way,
yeah.
it is normalized to not be together with your partner all day. Even in back in the days, the woman was doing something at home, let's say, or but man was hunting or working on the field, whatever. So it's normal
Mhm.
to not to be together.
Yeah.
Where is
Yeah.
the
Yeah. So it's normal. So you shared something that is normal to you, which is not always normal to somebody else. And then you find judgment that you didn't expect. And and then and I think also it's this it's very easy to judge somebody based on something you saw on the internet while you don't know their life, you don't know anything really about them. And this is something that happens, I think, in our days, our societies right now, is that people are judging really fast. So many people are afraid to share simple things and afraid to share it all
but the
because
thing is
judgment
not
is.
I think people were judging before, like let's say on the streets. It's not, it's just now it's
Yes,
more they were judging
yes,
between
but
their
they
friends.
on the street, like when you meet somebody on the street, there are, excuse me, there are norms of politeness that people will not judge you in your face.
Or they will, but they were really mean people.
Yes, but like there are some norms of behavior when you are in front of people.
Which should be the same norms online, but online is safer to be
It's,
mean
yeah,
to
nobody
others.
knows who you are. So, yeah.
Yeah. But my point was more around that I think vulnerability became such a difficult topic because as a society, the way we are brought up is by constantly putting things into boxes, normalizing, like standardizing things. Maybe it is done to process information easier, but I think also as a culture we own it to ourselves that we are not brought up as to be as open-minded as possible, because if we all are as open-minded as possible, then we will process information in a different way. Like someone's personal information, for as long as obviously is not harming society, it's gonna be processed differently by another person. Like this is their life. Like what I mean is like it feels like from this, I'm taking us back. So from schooling and university and all of these things, it's like there is, of course, for society to function, there is standardization of things and everything is normalized, right? So, and anything that is not in this range is more vulnerable to share.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
something is normal, it's easier to share.
Yes, it's easier to share and it will also it won't catch too many eyes also. Like if everybody is wearing gray clothes and you also nobody will see you. But if everybody is in gray and you're putting a red dress, it's like who is she? Right?
Correct, yeah.
Um,
So my point was, how can we be, and of course judgment is so human also, I think, like it's, I don't want us to root for extracting fully, like deleting judgment, because also a lot of spiritual cultures and a lot of spiritual teachings are like of course it's the best human behavior is not to judge and to be fully open-minded and to have compassion for every human being. But unfortunately none of us is enlightened here. We are all such a complex ball of feelings and emotions, right? And some judge quieter, some judge much more loud. And of course, the ones who judge quieter, maybe we can say that they do less harm, but maybe not, because maybe energetically we are all judging.
we are all judging. It's so natural to judge. And and I think it's also important to
But
judge.
is it natural to judge? Because also this is my thing. If we are, let's say, I always love to dream about these times of the Lemurian age when people were not speaking, they were telepathically communicating, and there was no communication. So you could not lie, you cannot hide anything. And then that means that everything that you think could be read immediately by the other person. And like they could read their minds and everything. And then nothing was really vulnerable, maybe because everything was exposed. So if everything was exposed and nothing was really vulnerable, then maybe you judge. The judgment is not needed because you have no prejudices, because you
Yeah.
know everything about everyone all the time. I don't, and this is obviously
Yeah.
like just to say the first human beings and all of these things. And it's like if someone is interested, I have a really cool book about the Lost Lands is called, and it's about Lemuria, Atlantis, and Avalon. Um, and it just talks about these people, how they were fully transparent in all senses. So I guess if you are fully transparent, there is hard the vulnerability as concept cannot exist. Therefore, probably judgment also cannot exist, because if you are transparent, you are, I don't know, actually, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting to think about it. And yeah, I like first, I don't know if this is real, right? Like this is somebody writing about something too many years ago for us to know like this is a real thing. Like this is a theory. And then if we're talking about it theoretically, what if everybody is so transparent that you know everything about them and they cannot hide anything? Then what does it mean about judgment and vulnerability? Because like then everybody is vulnerable on the same level. Like it creates an
Yeah, exactly.
equality that we don't know exists in our society, in our way of being.
It goes down to equality, right? Because if I'm more vulnerable, but you are not, you feel safe to judge because you don't. But if you are equally exposed,
Hmm.
that's exactly you most likely will not feel the need to judge because you know that everyone also knows your shit.
Yeah, yeah. Which,
So should we start?
by the way, your own judgment shows your own shit, right? Because what you judge is coming from your own experience. Like it's a
Yeah.
reflection of something in your own experience. So by judging, you're actually exposing yourself.
You by judging out loud, you are exposing yourself.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, and it's very interesting also because um, I think also if we are judging, if someone like I love what we should not go without mentioning Brené Brown, who is kind of the mother of vulnerability. And I love one thing that she always says is like allow judgment to come in only from the people who are with you on the arena or like the stage, because it's, and this is what we talk about equality, because it's very easy. One person is on the stage opening up about their life, sharing things from their life, and you are sitting in the dark in the audience mixed up with many people. So basically you're anonymous. It's much easier to judge when you are down there in the safe place, looking and eating your popcorn. When the other person is in the arena on the stage, they will be so much more busy with themselves and their life to because they will be equally nervous with you, like you on the stage, to waste their time judging you, right?
Yes, yes. Which
Going back
also
to the
bring,
point.
yeah, going back to the point that most people will not have business or exposed business or online business, or that because it's coming out of this anonymous place and going up to the stage, which is high exposure. And it's also interesting to think about it because it's like the person on the stage is the only one that really feels too exposed, while the people who are watching doesn't see it, they don't see it as they are exposed. They just see what they see.
Because they're not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they don't really get the like what I'm trying to say is like when you are on stage, you feel more exposed than you actually are.
Yeah, actually, this is one thing that is so important because we have this feeling that if we are open up, and this goes to if you are a public figure or if you are just if you decide to be very honest and vulnerable with a friend, it we like maybe historically this is something I wanted to talk about, was like when they were in the ancient times when you shared something that it was like prohibited, let's say, you could be killed for being vulnerable to sharing secret, right? Like the all the burning of the witches, that's true, right? Like someone, a herbalist was maybe burnt alive because they said that they believe in the power of plants, and this was vulnerable information. But what I'm trying to say is that when we are it's in the days that we live in, we have this feeling that once we share vulnerable information, the other person, we are opening up a space where the other person can hurt us. And this is also our responsibility, and they can hurt us. It hurts. It's like, I don't want, and this is something I wrote a few days ago, I don't want to be advertising this cool culture that once I'm emotionally mature, nothing can hurt me, and I'm this rock of non feelings. It's like, of course, a lot of things can hurt me. It's more about understanding that it's still much better to share, and then, like, yeah, I can choose to not give power to other people to hurt me, by not being open, but also openness. And this is why we came to the topic of vulnerability last week, is that openness actually is the only way that makes true connection.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's very superficial. Like, I don't believe that you can have a relationship, like a deep intimate relationship, not just intimate, I mean sexual, but just intimate relationship with a human being, if the conversations are surface level,
Mm-hmm.
if they
Yeah,
are not
you'll get
deep and
bored really
personal.
fast.
Yeah. And I think some people are not. Like, I think some people are okay because they've historically, maybe their family or them personally, they've been so much judged from their families when they were young, so that they prefer to be very close, not very quiet, not to say much, so that they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
So
your
then like
point.
both sides are on the same level of like I'll protect myself here and you protect yourself here and like we just live together somehow and
We
like
cohabit,
we
right?
we manage life. We are not connected. We manage life together.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
think about the business. If you are managing a business where all your employees are just doing their tasks, but and they're happy doing their tasks, but I think it's part of humanness for us to connection. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
very interesting because also emotional connection is built through conversation. Because recently I was
Mhm.
talking to someone what it feels like, betrayal. And I think, like, betrayal is something that, like, a lot for men, it's much more physical. But I think from a woman's point of view, like creating emotional closeness, like sharing vulnerability with another woman, is could be considered a betrayal, because closeness is not just sexual. When two humans are quite vulnerable, they naturally become very connected to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And it becomes almost like in an intimate relationship, like this is the only person that know that thing about me, and I the only person who knows that thing about them. It creates this special connection of like we have something that we need to protect for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the two people are very open and very public, there is things that, and they're mainly vulnerable things, that create closeness because they are not shared with anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there is the trust that, okay, I gave you this vulnerable part of me, and now I'm trusting you to keep it with you, to protect it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
And if
and
they
one thing
go and
I
speak to a
think,
friend about it, of course,
yeah,
it's like betrayal.
Yes, that is betrayal. Like speaking about it, publishing it in some way or another, it's yes, it is betrayal. Um, yeah, yeah. So one thing that I'm thinking about, like, so how you become more open, more vulnerable. Like, how do you really build this connection with people and finding the trust to give them this, secret information, or like just open up with your inner feelings and share yourself. And one thing that I found very helpful on many levels, like intimate levels, but also like on the in public, on the internet, is to assume that people has the best intentions for you. Because our natural state is to assume they're gonna hurt us because they can now. Like it's a little bit unconscious. It's not like, yeah, this is what I think they're gonna do. But having the assumption that everything is for your, like everything is in a good intent, it really helps to open up, like change the assumption that you have.
I personally can speak only for myself, and I feel I'm a very like I love vulnerability. It's one thing that, and that's why I've also been able through my life to create a lot of connections with people, a lot of friends around the world, because I'm not scared
Mm-hmm,
to share. And I think the only way we can inspire people is by starting first.
mm-hmm. Yeah, which is vulnerable.
Yeah, it's basically courage.
Yeah, it is courage. Courage is like to move with this fear of like they're gonna reject me, they're gonna judge me, they're gonna hurt me in some way or another. Um,
I have
yeah.
this thing inside of me. I don't have these thoughts. I actually even want to. I don't know if I'm like. It's very interesting how in some areas of life, some people we have some things and we feel safe in ourselves, and I don't feel safe for other things. But like for sharing personal information, I feel like almost want to provoke people. Like sometimes I'm not scared. I'm not scared of their reaction. I'm even like if I'm provoking them even sometimes, like I'm pushing them. It's just like
Yeah.
it feels like a play for me sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like people are like all saying, let's say we're in a course and everyone's like, "Did you do this?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't."
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
Yes.
lie that I didn't. Because everyone is like, did you do this? Did you read the modules? Like, let's say in a course, and everyone will be like, I'm sure most of them didn't, or half of them didn't, but everyone is like nodding. And I'm like, no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, it doesn't feel like what you're gonna judge me, judge me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit more like a game of, can I find your attention by provoking you? And because judgment is also attention, right?
Yeah.
Like, so,
For me, it's not, I don't feel like I'll be judged. I'm more interested in like, for me, it's more like, where are my people? And like, if I
mm-hmm,
go first, so I'm not like, I know that people will judge me, but if I go first, my people will be like, Yeah, I also didn't do it, and I also didn't do it. And I'm like, oh, you are my people. Like, and obviously, like, not my people in not doing the homework, but not the people, let's say, or like reading whatever, just as an example. But it's more like, I'm here to say the truth.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. And by vulnerability, you find your people because this is the moment that you see who is the person. And this is the moment that you show who you are. And so the connection is when there is this likeness between those things. So you can like something that is alike, like something that is same as you. Like, oh, they're also somebody who tells the truth. So I like that. But you can also like somebody that they have something different than you, and it's um, spike this curiosity, like how are they this different person? And like you want to learn how is it different, and like and then comes this comparison piece, like, okay, so they're this way and I'm this way, so by comparison you find who you are. Look, not the comparison of saying he's
Yeah,
better and I'm worse, but the comparison of saying, oh, this exists and this is also exists and this is also exists, and so here I am.
yeah, totally. And I will never forget when I did my yoga teacher training many years ago, like 13 years ago in Mexico. One of the practices that we had every evening was, or maybe every other evening, was called Satya Yoga, which is the yoga of truth. And like we will sit on the beach in circle. We were 12 people in the class, and everyone um, will have to answer like a simple question of who I am, for example. And it was just such a beautiful, maybe for me, this 13 years ago, this was also the beginning of radical vulnerability and truth. And um, when it's so liberating to hear the stories of other people, because we all feel like, oh, me, my life is so hard. And then you realize that every freaking person has difficulties and things they're going through, and everyone is on the same journey with us. And it just actually vulnerability, and living becomes so much easier when we are more honest and vulnerable and open, because then this idealization of what human is, what how it should be, becomes less of pressure for us, because we are all walking our path with our own learnings and teachings and experiences, right?
Yeah,
And I guess that's where also the open-mindedness is born. I think that's why people, they say that people who travel around the world and have lived, the more you have lived around the world, the less judgmental you become, because you've seen so much that, like, you
yeah.
can have preferences, and maybe to some person a preference will sound like a judgment. Also, this is something, but it's there is a fine line between this, because I think the more you see and hear and learn culturally, especially, and just different stories, the more you understand that there is not only one way at all.
There is not at all. And and I think also this is the place where people are getting it wrong, is where they think everybody needs to live the way they do. And the
Yeah,
way that they live is the best way, and this is better. And when you go around the world and when you see all of those different people, you actually see that there is not a better way. There are just different ways.
yeah,
And then your judgment starts to change because you yourself see, okay, the way I thought was better is not necessarily better. It's better for me.
yeah, exactly. Then you have more acceptance for yourself, right?
Yeah, you have your more expectation for yourself and more acceptance for others, because okay, that's what's right for me, that's what's right for them, and I can let them live this way. I don't really care about how they do what they do. Like, I may be interested, I may be curious, I may be like, I care on the level of like, if this is the best for you, I'm very happy for that. But I don't care of like, this is different, so it's wrong. I don't like, I just live the way I want to live, and you just live the way you want to live, and that's okay.
Yeah, and also, but also having the freedom, the yeah, the freedom to be able to share if you don't like what a friend is doing, to also to share it, not as a judgment, but to be able to be vulnerable. Also, giving feedback is vulnerable, saying what you think is vulnerable, everything is vulnerable when it's yours, when it's subjective. I think vulnerability is linked to subjectivity, is because it's you, it's what you think, it's what you do. And yeah, the more we are open, and the more we everyone is, I think, if we all go back to transparent, if everyone is telling their stories, then we will finally understand that there is no one right way. There
Yeah.
is no one right way of living. There is no right way of looking. And also, this is something today I learned a word that is like I want to write about this. It's called hypernormalization. And this doesn't mean that, okay, we understand that everyone is different. This doesn't mean normalizing violence. This doesn't mean normalizing things because they are different. It's like, oh, it's still like holding this responsibility inside of ourselves. Yeah, there isn't like there is not only one way of behaving, there is not only one way of being, for as long as I'm not harming another human being. And this is kind of a standard that I want us to hold ourselves responsible, because
Mhm.
then it's like, because this was what the conversation that I shared today on Facebook, something about Bulgaria was like, can we hype? Because, for example, in the US, people were hyper normalizing that maybe there will be someone coming in your school to shoot everyone, because it happens so often that it's kind of, you're not shocked when this happened, when actually the most normal thing is to be shocked. And all of these things is like, and one thing that I had, which personally me bothers me, and it's something that I want to share here because it's vulnerable, is like, for me it also shocks me so much to see fake boobs and fake lips all the time. Like, it really, it's not harming me directly, but it's unpleasant for me, truly unpleasant, and that this has become hyper normalized in our society. I don't know how it's in Peru, but in Europe, it's like, I yesterday I read statistics that, for example, in Spain, every third woman is with some corrections, and it's like, it's not harming me directly, but also, if I have a daughter, I don't think I think it is harmful if you look on this. So it's like, and I'm judgmental for this. And it's like, it triggers me, it bothers me, and it's something, um like, I don't want to hyper normalize something that is not normal. Also, it's not natural, let's say. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing of like, you cannot really avoid harming anybody.
Which
And
intention you can, yeah.
like, intentionally you don't want to harm nobody, right?
Yeah.
But just a word that you choose to use, or a way that you choose to behave, that for you is okay, it can trigger something in somebody else without you even knowing that this is triggering them. So you cannot also always thinking, okay, so what would I say, because this word is triggering this person and that word is triggering that person, and then like, okay, so you cannot leave if you're trying to avoid harming other people all the time. Now, if there
But
is
that's not
somebody that
really
you
truly
know
harming.
and you know that this will harm them, then you avoid it because you know them. But if they would never share with you that they know, like, that this harmed them, you will never
No,
know.
but that's
So
not really harm, that's triggering.
yeah, but like, so what is harm actually? Because it's triggering, it brings up pain, it brings up discomfort. Is this harming, you know? Like, of course, killing somebody is harming them. Like, yes, but then there are also different ways to harm people that are more psychological, that are more like that are more quiet than physically harm them.
Yeah, and if you think about what I just said, so for example, a woman who has a lot of insecurity and decided to do a lot of corrections, hearing me will be probably very triggering for her and harmful, right? Would it stop me saying it? No, because I choose to. And it's like, because at the end of the day, I think this is something to own and be very clear, is that we don't hold responsibility for the pain of other people. And this is also something that I speak to some of my clients a lot. It's like we cannot stay small because and quiet because we will trigger people. We will trigger people anyway. But when we are actually speaking our truth and we are not intentionally trying, like if I'm saying something is to make some point that I really appreciate natural beauty and aging and the value of a woman outside of beauty, and that's my point. My point is not to say, if I'm just coming on the internet just to spread hate and say all this, then my intention is harmful. But if I'm spreading a word of like wisdom, how I believe that femininity should be, it's my belief, and then someone interprets my words, then it's like I'm not responsible for that. I'm not gonna hold myself
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah. So I think there is a lot of difference between you saying, I believe natural beauty is more beautiful and more natural. And to me, that's the correct way to be.
The
Then
natural way to
saying
be, then
all of
I
what
wouldn't
you
use
are
it.
doing out there is wrong because you're not supposed to correct yourself. You're supposed to, right? So, like, there is a lot of difference in the way that you say it.
Exactly.
And then when you say it in the way that this is what I believe, then, and this is what I think is the right way for me to be. So you're judging the way they are in a way that is, this is not right for me, but you're not judging them. So then, and then saying like all of what all of you did, which is like how much you say, 30% of population
Yeah, let's
there,
say every third woman
30%. Yeah, okay, so 30%.
right now.
So yeah, right now. So if you are coming and saying 30% of the population are wrong, and like the way you live is wrong and the things that you do are wrong, and like this is, we don't supposed to allow this in our society. So yeah, you can believe that. But if you judge them for that in a way that is in a way not allowing them to exist the way they are.
Yeah, and I think this is where it goes to this hypernormalization, because
Mhm,
it's very tricky, because we want to be as open-minded as possible. That's where we are
mhm,
headed anyway. And I see it, for example, moving from Bulgaria, that is very close-minded, to Spain, where people are much more um, like open-minded and much more what's the word, correct, and like they solidary. They are very solidary with everyone, and it's like less much more less, much less judgmental. For example, that's what I see at the society here. And also I've lived in England also long term, and it's like there's also a lot of open-mindedness. And let's say you will see, and this is something I saw someone wrote somewhere, like It's normal. We've normalized that it's okay on Friday night to see drunk women on the streets with their short dresses lying on the floor, and no one is just doing something, but we've no, hyper normalized something that actually is not normal. It's an ugly scene, and it catches your attention in the same way like hyper big extension on the breast is catching also my attention because it's not natural. We've hyper
Mm.
normalized it because it's like the- it's not harming me directly, but it's also like as a society we have to take a stance and speak about this and be vulnerable, even knowing that it's a very sensitive topic for humans who have done corrections. And but it's like as a society, we what standards do we want to lead forward with? It's
Hmm.
vulnerable to speak about these things because some of the things actually that are not normal, we've normalized.
Yeah.
To not when I was in my late 20s and stopped drinking in London, it was a problem. Like people like, what's wrong with you? That's how much drinking has been normalized. I'm really serious. It was like, are you sick? Are you pregnant that you don't drink? That's how it was when I started my spiritual journey and stopped drinking. And it's like there's some things in society that it takes vulnerability also that actually the norm is fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it is vulnerable to bring up the things that are normal and and say this normal thing is wrong.
For sure.
Yeah. And and when you do that, it's almost impossible to do it without without harming people.
Without triggering people, let's put it this way, because they are already harmed.
Y-
That's why they are
Yeah.
triggered.
Yes.
If you think about this,
Yes. Yes. So,
it just touches on the wound.
hmm, yeah, and this is painful.
It's painful. So
Hmm.
actually, our vulnerability will create pain in other people. So will our success. So with our light.
Yeah. Yeah, which also shows that pain is all not always something bad. Like we used to think about pain as something that we avoid at all costs, something that we're not supposed to touch and not supposed to like don't harm anybody, don't create pain. But
Yeah.
also there is a very good side to pain because the pain is, in many cases, what makes you
Move.
move and do something different. Because as long as it's not painful, no, it's okay, it's not the best, but I'll live like this. But the moment it starts to be painful, and and this is why marketing to the pain point is working so well, because you're touch a pain point, you're touching a wound, and then you're giving a promise, yeah, I will fix this for you. And so it works so well, and many people speak against it, but the truth is that it works. So
It works well on the masses because the truth is that our society is in pain.
yeah, yeah.
There's very few
And
people
the
who
truth
choose to
is
live.
that we will always be in some way in pain.
We will always feel pain, but I think that's where the real expansion and the real move and shift comes is when we feel pain, but we don't allow pain to lead our life. Because we will always
Yes.
feel pain when we're vulnerable. And if
You can let pain lead your life, but not the avoidance of pain lead your life.
Uh,
Because if you let pain lead, then you will make the move that make things better. But if you avoid pain, you will stay in pain and nothing will happen.
yeah, but also when you move from the pain, if also not many people move from the pain because a lot of people prefer the familiar, right? So to press the button of pain to make people move is also a tricky game because, and of course for the listeners, we're not talking here about physical pain, we're talking about emotional pain here. And so if, yeah, I think when you trigger the button of pain for the maybe for the it may be very small percentage of people that will actually be like will make this move to get out of this situation. I think a lot of people actually stay in their pain and rather than moving. And I think what you said, that's where I think the pain of hunger is the best driver, the best motivator. And if we can find in ourselves this pain of hunger, that like what Steve Jobs says, or I don't know if it's Steve Jobs, but like, yeah, he says stay hungry, stay foolish. This was one of his quotes, but also they always said that the necessity is the mother of invention. So if you truly feel like this hunger, and this could be not like physical hunger, but mainly this physical hunger. The physical hunger, I think, is the best way to for initial movements, and then when you're hungry for adventure, hungry for experiences, hungry for knowledge, hungry for achievements, hungry for success, when you stay hungry, it moves you.
Mm-hmm.
Because hungry, when you feel real hunger, I don't know how many of us allow ourselves to feel really hungry, but it's painful. Your
Mm-hmm.
stomach hurts.
Yes.
And because I've done a lot of fasting, so I know how painful it is to be hungry. And we forget because we are so overfed in our society in all ways. We are so comfortable that we're like, oh, I'm just gonna scroll instead of being vulnerable. Fuck
Mm-hmm.
speaking to my friends. I'm just gonna scroll. I'm just gonna eat whatever I can find. It's like, and this is, I think, where society has gone wrong because we're like too overfed. We are not in
Yeah,
pain.
and this is why I'm saying we are always will feel pain in some way because we reach to the top of comfort in our society. We have everything we need and much more than that, and we still feel pain. We still feel this lack of something.
But it's not strong enough to make people move. So
Yeah, yeah, it's not strong enough because we have all of this comfort already.
the physical comfort.
The physical comfort, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And physical comfort is amazing, but if we have to like, I always often think about like, because I've worked with young people and I found like especially people who are, let's say, 20 years younger than me or maybe 15 years younger than me, I found them very unmotivated. And I often think about this. It's like because they live they are the children of a generation, or like their moms and dads are almost like our, like a little bit younger than our moms and dads, and they come from a generation where they are overly satisfied from all the senses. And it's like how to motivate a human to move, because movement is what creates results.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's romanticizing, dreaming, like manifesting, but if you don't move, there is no
Mm.
results.
Yes. Which is also okay, I think, if you are aware of this, that you are just a dreamer. And because it's really beautiful to be a dreamer and live in the comfort of your sofa and dream about beautiful things, you almost live the things that you dream about in your dreams, right? So
Yeah, the brain doesn't know the difference, right?
yes, so okay, so if you are aware of that and you're okay with that, so it's absolutely okay that this is what you do. But if you complain all the time that you want something different, but all you do is dreaming, then you have a problem. Like then it's time to, okay, let's stop dreaming and start do something.
Yeah, exactly. If you're always finding excuses, because also I think if you fully admit to yourself this is a period of dreaming and you there is no duality, you're like just I'm here right now to just dream, you will outlive this period. But because there is this separation, like I'm dreaming of this, but I'm dreaming, but then like I have conflicts inside me, and the conflict creates resistance, and I actually cannot make the action to move. It's like it can, because we spend so much of our energy in the inner conflict rather than movement, it can last for a really long time. And I've witnessed it with clients, I've witnessed it with people around me. And it's like, okay, live one period of dreaming, laziness, whatever you call it, procrastination, whatever. Actually, procrastination, not, because in procrastination, you're already feeling guilty of not doing things. But just like, but if you fully are present in one thing, it cannot last forever.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And yeah, so it comes back also to giving yourself the permission to do it. Like, yeah, I'm now in a season that I'm dreaming. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of judgment on people who are just dreamers,
And that
right?
goes back to who you do you choose around you, because if you
Yeah.
allow yourself to be a dreamer, but then you're all of the people around you are judging you, you're not gonna feel very fulfilled in your dreaming stage. Maybe you
Yes.
have to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if and I think the key here is the awareness and the choice. Like you are aware that you're just dreaming, so you're not complaining about it because you're choosing to do that. And and by the way, the complaining is something that you actually can see as, okay, this is a sign that I'm not happy in this point. I'm complaining about something here. Sometimes it's the exact thing that you complain about, something, sometimes it's something else. But complain is a very good sign for yourself that something, there is something I need to change here because I don't want to live my life complaining the whole time.
Correct. I think we spoke a lot, so I think we should wrap up. And because we are going into new topics, I think,
Yeah.
um, which can be beautiful. Maybe our next conversation could be about how to move, or pain of not
Yes.
moving, because I think it's a very interesting topic for me in terms of my mentorship with some women. So it's like, okay, what is motivating people to move?
Hmm.
How?
Yeah. Yeah.
This could be a very nice new next
Hmm.
podcast episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm already seeing the direction of that. And yeah, because it can be something outside of you and something inside of you in you that makes you move. And
Exactly.
yeah, like
But it requires you to be really
always.
vulnerable with yourself. Because we didn't
Yeah.
talk about this, but I think it's so important to be truly honest with yourself, which like equals truly vulnerable with yourself and really admit to yourself, okay, now it's difficult, now is this, now is that, but truly own it, and then that frees you up from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Avoidance and resistance is what keeps you attached to something.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And this full ownership of yourself, and it actually allows you to be vulnerable with other people because you know yourself, you know who you are, you own it. So then
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter what anybody else say, think, feel. Like, yeah, okay, you can think that. I'm okay. I know. I know my truth.
yeah, this goes back to, and it's a good wrap up of the session. It's like when you know who, when you work on yourself, when you truly have like faced all your demons and know that you are equally not perfect as all the other human beings, it's like then it becomes easier to be vulnerable because
And
yeah,
easier to connect with other people and to really have the depth of connection and conversation with the people around you, with the people that you choose to be with.
yeah. Also, I just one quick thing, but I've also noticed sometimes with people that they share something very vulnerable, like for example, their relationship, and they will share it. Like I witnessed them on an event, and they will go and speak about breaking up with their boyfriend to everyone, and it's like just as a conversation starter. And I've
Mm.
also witnessed this sometimes of people, and I'm like, so it's like using something to connect with people, but like externalizing it is almost like a mean to an end. It's also very, yeah, it creates
Hmm.
something inside of me.
Yes. Yeah, I see
Because
what you're talking
vulnerable thing,
about, and yes, it's like, and it's also almost making this hard moment that they have as their identity if they start everything with it. And it's almost like I cannot let this go. It's part of me right now. So this is who I am. And your connection is like your connection start point is a part of your past that you don't necessarily want to be part of your identity.
I don't know if it's part of their identity, but for me it feels like if you're so willing to share something with everyone about your relationship, then it's a conversation point for me. What, because you know how we spoken about this truth is for me, it's like, so sharing vulnerable information with people, if you are doing it in order to connect, to be like, okay, I understood for humans that if I share something vulnerable, I will connect to people. But if you're sharing some like about your relationship that you broke up, which is quite a vulnerable experience to everyone else, obviously this experience for you is not so vulnerable if you're willing to use it as a conversation starter with people
Yeah.
in order to
Yeah,
make
I think
them
it's
open up.
not vulnerable if it doesn't feel vulnerable, you know?
Correct.
And this is something that we talked about last week after our conversation, that like for example, for me, something that I already overcame doesn't feel vulnerable to me to share.
Yeah.
It feels vulnerable if I'm right now in it, if it's right now part of my reality. And then I can share something that could be very vulnerable in its moment, like a painful experience or something. But then right now, because it's already in the past and I already moved past it and I'm already feeling like I'm somebody else, it doesn't feel vulnerable.
For me, it depends, but because it depends on the piece of information.
Of course. Or like what makes it feel vulnerable is that it has some consequences on who you are right now.
Or what
So
people will think about you.
yeah, right now.
Yeah, about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also your past, I think people often, let's say someone is a famous actress, but all of a sudden it comes out that in her past she was a prostitute. It will
Mm-hmm.
affect what people think about her, even though it's her past. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it just depends on the piece of information from the past.
Yeah. And if she can own that this is her past and accept it, then it doesn't matter what they think.
But if it's coming out now, even though it happened in the past, it's it's
Yeah.
happening now. The
Yeah,
reveal
yeah,
is happening
yeah. So
now.
it's happening now, right? But what I'm saying, like, if she can own it and she accept it, then it wouldn't be as vulnerable as it is if she doesn't.
Yeah, I think vulnerability, to your point, is that it might the whole event or something that you're sharing, it might not be happening now. It might have happened many, many years ago. But if it's now that you're revealing it, you're letting it out in the world, now it's when you are vulnerable because now you're letting the thing out. If you
Hmm.
have healed and integrated something into your identity and you share it as a story, for example, what Tony Robbins does all the time, he shares his story how he was poor and all of this, and it still provokes emotions within people. But the fact is that this is his story. It's a story that he shares for him. I don't think he feels like this emotion anymore, that because he has done it so many times, shared with people that how he was poor and how his mom wanted him to be a truck driver and all of these things. But if he
Yeah.
was there sharing it for the first time now, after many, many years of success, he finally came up and say what how his past was, and it's the first time it will be vulnerable. I think also this is something to think about. It's like vulnerability becomes easier with time, the more we practice it.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. Now it's like just part of the story. It's not really vulnerable anymore. And yeah. So what
But
makes
with
it
any
vulnerable is
information,
what? Yeah, with any information. So what makes it vulnerable is the way you feel about it in the moment. And
and the more the more you're hiding something, the more vulnerable it feels once you open up about it.
yes.
If you're like open book, then it's like
Hmm.
you're practicing vulnerability all the time.
Yeah. And this is what makes people think, oh, it's easy for her, right? Because it became easy.
Because it practiced. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it became easy because she was transparent and truthful and honest, and so she already experienced the judgment before, so now it's less painful. She knows what's coming and she owns who she is, and she's connected and accepting herself.
Exactly. What a beautiful
A-
end
and
for the
and it seems
conversation.
and it seems like, oh, it's easy for her, but it wasn't always the case necessarily.
It's a practice. Vulnerability is a practice like everything else.
Yes.
And I don't think, and I love to say, like, we don't say why, like, how to be vulnerable, but why to be vulnerable. And the reason we are vulnerable is because it creates connection.
Hmm. Yeah, it creates the most beautiful connection and the most precious connection, because being vulnerable with somebody is like giving them the gift of who you are.
Exactly. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. It was quite a long conversation. So, thank you. If some of you were here live, we can't see as we speak because we speak through Zoom, but we will see you next week.
Yes, thank you so much. And yeah, enjoy a vulnerable moment this week. Let us know how it went. And yeah, see you next week on Wednesday.